Hello. Thank you so much for joining me today. How you guys doing? I'm excited. 10 things in European homes Americans think are weird. Like freaking carpet in the bathroom. What the hell are you thinking? That had to be a woman's idea. Carpet in the bathroom. I say that just because, as a man, you know, or you should know, that if you're standing up, I mean, if you're a sitz pissler, then okay. But if you're standing up peeing, you know a little bit of splish splash is going on. I mean, whether you know it or not, it is, okay? And to have carpet, let's see. That should be number one, but let's see what the other 9 are. By the way, this is LRN2 DIY. Learn to DIY. Check them out, link down below. Small and up-and-coming channel, guys. 1.2 million subs. Damn.
Are 10 things that Americans find, well, weird about European homes.
He's saying the echo is because of the European home. No European YouTuber has ever not had echo on their microphone. It's impossible in a European home. I'm just kidding. But that is kind of funny.
Number one, the laundry situation. Having a washing machine next to your pots and pans in the kitchen or sometimes in the bathroom definitely makes us Americans do a double take.
You ever throw a dirty pan in there? Like if your dishwasher's full, just throw it in there.
Or sometimes in the bathroom definitely makes us Americans do a double take. Most homes in the U.S.
Or maybe a plastic cup. Something that, you know, maybe not something metal, but... Huh? You think about that?
Have a dedicated laundry room or
I guarantee some freaking bachelor has done that. Some dude living alone, for sure, has done that.
Utility closet or
he's so lazy. He's got the entire dishwasher filled with dishes. They're probably clean. He just doesn't want to unload it. So he throws the dirty dishes in the washer, the clothes washer.
Garage or
I would have done that as a bachelor.
Something that the washer and dryer are kept in.
Whoa, it's behind a freaking door. Somehow that's even more of a culture shock than it being in the kitchen. It's like a surprise. What's behind door number 2? Oh, a washer?
A utility closet or a garage or something that the washer and dryer are kept in. Now, for many European homes, the washer or a combo washer and dryer is in the kitchen because that's where there is already some plumbing and electricity to be able to extend to the washing machine.
I know some of you guys don't even have a dryer, but yet, ironically, some of you have a washer dryer, which no one here in America, almost nobody has that, and I think that's, like, amazing. Like, why aren't they all like that? I guess there's some kind of reason, but it's probably cheaper to buy a washer-dryer combo thing than buying 2 separate machines. Saves a lot of room. It saves the labor of moving the laundry between the 2 things. It's more efficient. I mean, it's just brilliant.
Not only that, but so many homes in Europe don't actually have a dryer at all. Or if they do have one, it's smaller and it's used for washing their bed linens.
What is that?
And things like that. Whereas
what even is that?
In America, we're used to shoving like a cargo load of clothing in there and having it done in an hour, as opposed to hanging it out on lines inside or outside the house. It's something that used to be more common, but I'd say
you're just hanging it on a chair.
As a standard, we're pretty much accustomed to using our washer and dryer to do all of our laundry all the time. Number 2 on our list, no window screens.
And you're like, sorry, you can't sit down. I'm drying my clothes.
This is a big one. In America, we have screens everywhere on every window. We're just totally accustomed to that because we don't want to deal with flies at all. Mosquitoes in particular, house flies, anything like that.
Yeah, I don't understand this. Why are a window screen honestly seems pretty obvious. It's only inconvenient when you're trying to like sneak through a window, which how often are you trying to do that? Like when you're a kid trying to sneak out or when you're trying to burglarize a house, you know, 2 things that, you know, I mean, should he be doing them? Probably not, especially the burglarizing thing. Definitely don't do that. So why not have screens? Especially you guys open the windows more than we do. We almost never open our windows. Yet we have screens for when we do. Keep the bugs out, guys.
But in Europe, you'll be hard-pressed to find any windows with
I will say there's something more organic about being able to stick your head out the window, and I do think that's a very European thing, to open a window and stick your head out it and yell something to passerbyers, or two blooms for a penny, who will buy my sweet red roses.
screens in them. Now, in a lot of places, we found that you don't actually
I'm sorry.
you
I don't know
need
what
screens because there's not really an issue with bugs. And in other places, it feels like
Not an issue with bugs? Okay, that's a difference between there and America. There's so many freaking bugs.
you really need some screens in here because there are bugs everywhere. So regardless of whether you think they should or shouldn't be there, for us as Americans,
Is that why there's just more bugs in America?
it just seems weird not to have that. This is as good a time as any to acknowledge the fact that trying to encompass all of Europe in one list is a little bit rough, right? It's kind of hard to put all of these different cultures, languages, histories, and different people into one bucket. So I fully acknowledge that. And to all of my European friends, if there are any corrections that need to be made on this list or experiences that you have that are different from what we're talking about here, feel free to leave those in the comments to educate
Why is he on like a TV? I mean, I like it.
both me and the rest
It's fun.
of us watching. Number
But
3
it's
on our list are plugs
interesting.
and switches. These are very different for us when we travel to Europe because there are so many things that are different compared to what
Well, what even is that thing? It's like just when you think you understand, you see something like that. It's like, what the fuck is that?
compared to what we're used to. Now, I'll be the first to admit we are the odd
See, like that outlet, it's weird. It looks weird as hell, but I understand it's an outlet.
man out when it comes to how we measure things using the imperial system versus metric, as well as the fact that we use 120 volt for so many appliances in America versus 240 volt, which is used almost everywhere else in the world. Our plugs here are called Type A for the grounded and Type B for ungrounded. Europe, on the other hand, uses a whole host of plug types depending on where you live, with the Type F or Schuko plug being one of the most common, at least outside the UK and Ireland. You're also going to find Type C, Type E, F, J, K, and L plugs, almost all of which are actually compatible with the most universal Type C. Great Britain and Ireland, for example, use Type G, which is a pretty great plug for a lot of reasons. So much so that I actually made an entire video that you can check out right here about why that is such a great plug. That said, it's not the different types that we Americans find pretty odd about it, but how they're actually grouped together, and the fact that you might find a light switch and a
Yeah, that's insane.
plug,
That thing is just insane looking.
and then a separate light switch all in the same plate in the same box. Not only that, but we also consider a lot of these light switches to be upside down based on what we're used to. We're
No way. They turn on when you flip it down?
used to hitting the top of the switch for the lights to turn on and the bottom to turn off. And here in Europe, it feels like it's just kind of whichever way you want to do it. Most of the boxes in Europe seem very compatible or
I feel like that is that just because I grew up with that, or is there not some kind of intuitive nature to like up is on? It's up. Like it's almost like your eyes, On. My eyelids are up, off. I'm awake. I'm up. I'm asleep. I'm down. On, off. Makes sense to me.
interchangeable with different types of plugs, different types of switches, different types
How are you
of
going to flip
connections,
something down to turn it
even
on?
audio video connections. I've seen boxes that are used for controlling your thermostat up and down with switches, as well as coax, Ethernet, phone wires, anything. I mean, you name it, you can put it in these different boxes. And in most cases, you can put 3 of them side by side or 2 of them side by side, depending on the configuration of the box. And it doesn't help that we have these boxes around that actually have 3 different blanks next to each other, and they all look very similar to a traditional light switch. In my video that I did on British plugs or Type G plugs, I received tons of comments saying that the Schuko type is superior and is by far the best plug out there. So I've considered this a couple times, making a video about the Schuko plug versus the Type G plug versus the American plugs. So if that's something of interest, let me know in the comments.
This is going over my head about the plugs.
but this is a pretty interesting one right here. Number 4 on our list is no central air conditioning, and in some cases, no air conditioning at all. Now, this one makes perfect sense given the fact that there's a lot of
Haha, this is how AI thinks medieval buildings were constructed.
buildings here that have been around for hundreds of years, and they predate not only the central air and that kind of thing, but also electricity in general. So a lot of things had to be retrofitted, and it makes sense that you're not going to be able to necessarily pipe in the vents and the registers and all of that sort of thing. But one thing that we do see tons of here in Europe are mini splits. If you're not familiar with mini splits, they are super common outside the United States, and it's basically just an external condenser unit and then an internal head unit that are connected, and they can provide both heating and air conditioning in one unit.
So you do have AC. It's just in this little unit. Interesting. I mean, you see this you see this in cities in America. It's just that they would be window units. You know, it's just like in the window. And it takes up the window, which is pretty inconvenient, but it doesn't need to be piped in through a different hole, you know, it's just comes in through the window.
Connected, and they can provide both heating and air conditioning in one unit, but they are limited to a certain room typically, or maybe a couple of rooms at best. These are everywhere in Europe and they're super common, but another common thing is just to not have air conditioning at all. And for us in America, at least, that's
I mean, I think that's also a cultural thing and you know, just a climate thing, you know. There's a lot of places in America where it just gets really freaking hot all the time. Like here in Indiana, you're not just gonna not have AC. You know, it's not viable. Like, I mean, the heat wave that went through Europe this summer, that's what it's like in Indiana all the time, you know? Like 33 degrees Celsius is very common here where I live.
pretty
So you gotta have AC.
strange thing. There are very few places in America that don't have air conditioning. I know I'm pretty spoiled. Like if it's 73, 74 degrees, I'm like, let's turn on that AC and get it just to that right comfortable room temperature the way we want it. And going
That's definitely a thing. That actually is a funny point. Like I hadn't thought about just how particular Americans are. I bet Europeans would think a lot of Americans seem so like spoiled and so babyish when it comes to that. Cause I mean, I'm just gonna say, especially women in particular. Well, okay, I know some dudes too, for sure. They're so particular about like the temperature that even if it's 2 degrees or 1 degree, and I'm talking Fahrenheit, so Celsius, we're talking like half a degree off. Like if half a degree or 1 degree high, they'd be like, we need to turn on this AC. Like we need to turn this thing down. Like it's hot in here. Seriously. Like we keep it typically around 70, like say 70 in the house. If it's 72, my wife is like, it's hot. It's freaking hot in here. Like we need to turn it down. What the hell's going on? I'm going to die.
right along with that is the lack of ceiling fans. I hardly ever see ceiling fans
That's surprising to me.
in Europe. They're very uncommon, whereas just about everywhere in the United States has a ceiling fan.
I mean, isn't that interesting? We have ceiling fans and AC here in America. You would think that if you guys don't have AC, you would at least have ceiling fans. I mean, the ceiling fan is like really just, you know, the cherry on top, you know?
Not sure what it is or why that is, but
Maybe it's because you guys open the windows more, you know, because the ceiling fan is a big purpose of it is to get that air circulating around the room when it feels a little bit stale or whatever. You guys just open a window, I guess.
definitely something that I miss seeing and miss having, just that air circulation in the room that comes from having a ceiling fan. On the topic of mini splits, I had the chance to install a mini split in my wood shop, and man, I love it. So if you are interested at all in learning about that and how easy they can be to install, and I'm not going to say it's like super easy, it's definitely something that will take you probably a full day, possibly more, but it's totally worthwhile. So much so that I'm going to be doing one in my new shop, which is coming along nicely, a much larger mini split, and that
I like how he's like, this is so easy to install. Then he shows like this huge process for
give me
doing
full
it. And of course, you know, it's all relative.
control of heating and air
I guess this
conditioning
is
in there.
relatively easy.
You can check out more about those install videos right up here. Number 5, and this is in some ways the biggest one for me. It includes both the home
Carpets in the bathroom.
and everything outside the home. But in my opinion, and I think in most Americans' opinion, everything in Europe is tiny. I found this pretty fascinating chart that shows the different home sizes or average home sizes based on different
Well, can they not freaking put them both in either meters or feet? Like, why are... Oh, never mind. I'm sorry. It's showing both in meters and feet. I'm being an idiot. I'm sorry. I thought we were looking at two different countries here. No, it's feet then meters. Okay, perfect. Never mind.
fascinating chart that
Holy shit. 2,100 and just 800 in the UK. So it's over double. Damn, Europe, or I mean, Russia is only 614? Why did I not know that? I assumed since Russia is such a huge land area that, you know, kind of like America, like a huge amount of land, that they would just build big houses. But 614 feet? That is small. That's small. Even you guys would say that is small, wouldn't you?
shows the different home sizes or
That's like a small apartment here in America.
average home sizes based on different countries.
New Zealand might even be bigger than America. What was America? Yeah, it's 10 feet bigger.
In the United States, you can see we have a fairly large average home size, but check out the different countries in Europe. None of them come close to the sizes of
China, 646.
homes in the United
Canada, pretty big.
States.
Of course.
We simply have huge
Australia, 2303.
houses.
Who knew
what's
that? I
interesting
didn't
about
know
this
that.
Is that Europe has more than
And I know a lot about
the
Australia.
amount of people as the United States, but in a geography almost the same size as the United States. So twice as many people per square mile, as it were, and as a result, they've had to make adjustments and learn to live in a smaller space. So for someone like me, at least, it feels like everything here is tiny, and that goes
It is interesting because I can already see, for instance, the stove is tiny.
for their kitchens and their beds,
kitchen is
the
tiny.
appliances, the cars, the elevators, the streets,
my
the
gosh.
toilets, the washing machines, the cars.
Now that he points it out, it's like, whoa, it's interesting. You know, it's almost hard to notice because everything is a little bit smaller. But yeah, at least all the things he's showing are smaller.
The garbages, the refrigerators, the cars.
Sorry.
Did I mention the cars are tiny?
Oh, hey, he's touching his bumper. You can't do that here in America. You'd get in a gunfight. You'd be in a duel if you did this. You'd have to walk out into the street with your revolver.
And everything else, except, of course,
That's
the flush buttons on their toilets.
What the
So that leads
hell?
us into item
the
number
heck?
6 on our list.
Huge.
And maybe it should have been
Why is there a stop button on the flush?
toilets.
What does that even do? How do you stop a flush?
So that leads us into item number 6 on our list, and maybe it should have been item number 2, but the large flush plates on their toilets, they're absolutely huge, and their toilets and bidets are something that we're not used to. Just to have bidets in general are definitely an abnormal.
Only place you see that, like a separate bidet, is in a hospital, like in the maternity rooms, you know, where they're giving birth. Because after women give birth, the bidet is their best friend, you know, a woman's best friend, the bidet, at least in the delivery room, bathroom.
For us. They're becoming a little bit more common in the United States. We've had one in our house actually for a couple of years. Now, the other thing about the toilets here in Europe is that there are many different kinds, whereas in the United States, we typically have one general pattern, which is the tank on top of the toilet bowl. Here, you often find either an internal cistern, meaning the tank and all its components are actually in the wall.
Well, but the freaking toilet breaks every, like, year. You know, not break, but something goes wrong in the toilet. Maybe yours are built a little bit more robust if they're going to be in the wall. But that would be extremely inconvenient to access the tank to fix it. I mean, it usually is just a small thing like the chain, you know, that pulls the plunger when you flush. Ding. it breaks or comes off or something. You got to go in there and like reattach it. Maybe that doesn't happen. I mean, if they built them better, I guess that wouldn't happen. And maybe they're built better in Europe for that reason.
Or maybe a raised cistern where it's up above and then it uses that extra gravity to cause a little bit more pressure as the water comes down and flushes a little bit better.
You know, I'm not a big physics guy, but is that even how that works? Like the higher you raise the tank, it causes more pressure? I guess so. Huh? Actually, I guess so, because it's like being deeper underwater. There's more pressure. That's an interesting thing. So it wouldn't clog as much?
Reason for these huge plates that we see everywhere here in Europe, for example, is because that's how you
Scar, shout out Scar.
access the internal
Dickhead.
cistern or the tank and the different components. There you've got your flush valve,
Oh.
that's the internal cistern or
Wait, he opened the wall.
the tank and the different components. There you've got your flush valve, you've got your float, you've got your water supply. All of that is accessible by removing the plate.
No shit!
Which is pretty easy to do. And then you can just unscrew a couple of pieces, a little bit of plastic, sometimes some screws, sometimes not. And then everything is actually accessible
Well, that's pretty freaking cool.
within the
I won't lie, it's still easier on the American one. You just lift up. Like there's nothing attaching it. You just lift off the top. It's heavy, it's porcelain, so it's not like gonna go anywhere. Unless you lift it up. It's just a lid on top of the tank.
there, which is pretty handy. Now,
But that's pretty neat.
may or may not fly ever in the United States for various reasons, but it's definitely something that's pretty common. The bidet is so common in Europe, for example, that here in Italy at least, it's actually part of their code. There's actually a code that came out in 1975, a decree, and it said, in each house, at least one bathroom must have the following fixtures: a toilet, a bidet, a bathtub or shower, and a sink.
That's crazy.
The bidet seems like a pretty polarizing kind of thing. My son, for example, is afraid of them and doesn't want to go anywhere near them. My buddy Roger Wakefield, the plumber, he says he actually has carried them around on vacation with him to make sure he has one with him.
And I carried a bidet toilet seat with me
no
and
way.
installed it at my hotel room.
I have not seen that.
So, up your game, brother.
So let me know in the comments
That's insane.
if this is something that you're a big fan of or you're not a big fan of. Love to hear your opinion on that. Speaking of plumbing, number 7 on our list is garbage disposals or sink disposals. I grew up always using a garbage disposal, always putting
This, oh my gosh. I've already argued with you guys about this one in the comments before. This has got to be right up there. This might be the number one thing. You got to get on board with the garbage disposal.
food down the sink. That's just totally normal for me, and I think for most of the people that I associate
I know you guys are like, no, we throw the garbage where it's supposed to go, you know, like in the organic waste, like, I don't know, like you separate it and then I don't know. I don't know if that's more environmental somehow. But my God, I love my garbage disposal.
with in America, totally normal. Here, you're very rarely ever going to find a garbage disposal. Food here is
I'm
typically
sorry, but that is, I've lived without a garbage disposal. It's not fun, in my opinion. It's not fun, guys. You wash dishes, something goes down, it gets clogged. You know, it's not the end of the world, but I love having a garbage disposal. You could throw anything down a garbage disposal. A human. You could throw like a ton of food down it. You could throw a whole plate of food. Not that, I mean, obviously that would be a big waste. But my point is just that, you know, if some food went bad, you just put it down the disposal. It's all gone. Just whisked away.
taken and scraped into a garbage or into an organic compost bin of some sort, and it's either thrown away or it's turned into compost that can be used by farmers or in the back garden.
Oh, see, that this is what you guys tell me. Yep, like it's turned into compost. Yep. Okay, I'm sorry. All right, that's...
Now, that does happen occasionally in the United States, but it's way more common for us to actually include everything in the waste that we put down the sink, flip on the garbage disposal, let it get rid of everything, and we're done. Number 8 on our list are door
We love to be, you know, lazy here in America. Yes. Flip a freaking switch and you're done. Yes.
knobs in the middle of the door. This is something that we're definitely
What?
not used to in
How does that even work? It's just got a super long latch.
America because we always have them next to the actual latch, next to the mechanism of the door. I saw a pretty funny comment that said the doors in Europe are like hobbit homes, where you expect to see them in the middle of the door. Now, personally, I kind of like the way that they look. It's symmetrical, it looks nice, it adds a little more flourish to the door. But let me know what you think about doorknobs being in the middle of the door.
I like it because it's quirky, but if it wasn't quirky, then it would just be normal. Like if it was normal, it would no longer be quirky. In which case, I would no longer care. But I do like it because it's quirky.
Speaking of doors, that's number 9 on our list. The doors and the locks here are so much more robust and, in my
Oh my god. Yeah, that's like a jail cell.
opinion,
Ours you could just like kick open. Like probably a 10-year-old could kick open this freaking door back here. Just a normal like house interior door.
interesting than the doors and locks that we see.
Now, as far as the front door, you would need to be like a grown man to kick one of those in, but still you could. You can. I haven't done it, but you could.
In America. A lot of times they feature different hardware than we're used to, like the hinges, and then the keys themselves
Well, you know, I'm just thinking if it was deadbolted, because a front door in America has 2 locks. The knob has its own little shitty lock, and then there's the deadbolt, which is a more robust lock, of course. And the front door is a lot more robust than like an interior door. But the framing is still, you know, wood. It would not be easy to kick in a front door, but it would not, it can be done. That's my answer.
feel totally different to us. I mean, check these things out. The old style keys are often still in use, whereas in America, we just have our standard cut keys for pretty much everything. And honestly, they're pretty boring.
That's an insane key.
One place we stayed at in Rome could have easily passed as a vault door, complete with 8 locking pins. Pocket doors are seen way more commonly in Europe, as well as some of the huge solid wood doors from 200 or 500 years ago, and those are still in use today, which is pretty awesome. So many cool doors here in Europe, and they seem to have so much more character and history than a lot of the kind of plain
I saw there was a hole up top in the frame here too. Oh my god.
in Europe, and they seem to have so much more character and history than a lot of the kind of plain and boring doors that
What are you trying to keep out?
we have in
An elephant?
America. So that's something that's weird to us, but in I think generally a good way. Love to see these hardwood doors and ones with flourishes and embellishments and carvings and different things like that. Number 10 on my list is this right here. That
Blank
is a sound
wall.
we're not used to hearing in America. The construction of the homes is, of course, completely different, and that's a whole ball of wax that we could get into. And why it makes sense the way that they're built. But for us, we are definitely not used to.
Okay, so you're saying the walls are way more echoey. Ours are like freaking paper mache, so they absorb sound. Hey! Good for me. Good for the YouTubes. That's funny. That's actually really interesting.
These super solid masonry-oriented walls.
Well, that's where that one meme comes from, you know, about punching a wall in Europe. I searched it, and it's literally my thumbnail is the one I'm thinking of. Oh, here's the original. Punching a wall. You know, that's America. And yes, like kids can punch like teenage boys will punch a hole in their bedroom. That's like a stereotypical thing for a kid with anger issues. Kids with anger issues will punch a wall in their bedroom. That's a very absolutely real common thing here in America. But yeah, punching it in Europe, yep, you're going to the hospital. Luckily, it'll be free in Europe.
They are typically built out of bricks or stones or concrete, and then they're faced
The trip to the hospital.
with concrete typically, and they have that smooth hardness to them, and there's nothing happening here. There's no knock really. It's just totally solid. We're used to timber framed walls with drywall on the outside, and there's a hollowness to them. Even if they're insulated on the inside, they still are what we consider hollow, and they have a certain knocking sound or feature to them. These walls here are completely different, and this is especially impactful on our interior walls, like around your living room, your bedroom, your bathroom, things like that. So that's one that's very different for us, where
This is good. I've tried to explain before, you know, how American walls are constructed, and, you know, this shows you. They have these cavities that you fill with insulation. Now, if you happen to punch right on a stud, boom, which, you know, is this piece of hardwood going up and down, then that's going to hurt your hand. That would also be, you know, if you're going to hang a TV on the wall, you have to find the stud, which you can do in multiple different ways. Most common is probably just using a stud finder, which is a little gadget that lights up when you put it on the wall and you're over a stud. And that's where you would screw in the bolts or whatever screws to hang something heavy on the wall.
everything seems super solid, and that's a good
If you're just hanging a picture frame, like a light picture, you can do that on just the drywall.
thing in general, but it also has this kind of cold, almost sterile feel to it when we're used to the wood timber sounds and kind of the different acoustics that we have from the different walls in America. All 10 items on this list, they have pros and cons, both to the way Americans do things and the way Europeans do things. I totally
Where's the carpet in the bathroom?
recognize that. I think it's pretty awesome to be able to come to different countries and to experience their different cultures, their different way of doing things, and the different layouts and different features of their homes.
Yeah, so this guy's like a DIY channel. So that's why he looks at through the lens of like construction and all this stuff, which is really interesting. And the plugs and stuff, you know, he went on about the plugs. Very interesting. That was a really insightful video. Check him out, link down below. I installed a bidet attachments to the two main bathrooms in our house during the COVID toilet paper scarcity. Now I wouldn't consider living without them. Yeah, bidets are freaking awesome, I'm not gonna lie. They are awesome. They're very comforting. Thank you for watching, guys. I'll see you tomorrow.